What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Marketing Show. Today we have a special guest, Marie Tatibouet from Gateio. She is the CMO. So we're going to discuss a couple things regarding Gateio's recent explosive growth and sort of how they accomplished that. So first of all, welcome, Marie.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Ty.
Of course. So first of all, I mean, Gateio is obviously, an exchange. Beyond that, can you give us a little bit of overview of what Gateio is?
Sure. So Gateio is a centralized exchange, which was started in 2013. So that makes us one of the oldest cryptocurrency exchanges. And, as a result, we've been through our fair share of challenges. A lot of the exchanges that were around at that time are not here anymore. They've been through too many hacks and all of that kind of stuff. So, because we've made it this far, it's because we've taken security really seriously. And we also take, the user experience and providing transparency and integrity to the user very seriously as well. This has also helped us push into a variety of other products. For example, Wallet.io, which is a wallet that's directly linked to Gateio. So it makes it easy to kind of, take your funds from Wallet.io, put it on the exchange very easily to go and trade, and vice versa. It's also led to the creation of Gatechain, which is a public blockchain that takes user security extremely seriously with an innovative technology that enables a vault account, which enables 100% safeguarding of funds. We can get into that later. But basically, I think what I would like to say about Gateio is everything that we do really goes around serving the user and helping them have the best trading experience possible, whilst being able to, number one, provide the most secure environment, and number two, just providing them with all of the best features and all of the best coins and projects that are available to them on the market.
Awesome. So you're obviously CMO. Can you walk me through a little bit what that role entails and how long you've been there?
Sure. I've been at Gateio for 3 years now. I just celebrated my 3-year anniversary. Before we were focused more on the Asian markets. And since I joined, we really expanded into more international markets. So there's been a very big focus there since I first got started. And I think before, crypto was very much focused on the Asian markets anyways. Japan, Korea, China were definitely at the forefront of innovation, and the users were very much from those areas. Now it's a lot more mixed. The US has always been there, of course, but I think we've also seen Western Europe and Europe in general really push things along. They are typically kind of laggards in the tech space, and they seem to finally have caught up. So it's very exciting to really see the entire world come together. And I am especially excited. We saw Africa come in kind of last year, and we're really seeing Latin America come into its own this year. And I think that's really exciting. So my arrival has really kind of gone with our geographic expansion. And what does the CMO do? Well, the main thing that we're always focused on is providing the users with the best experiences possible, because if we provide them with a great user experience, then they'll trade more. And since we only make money from fees, commissions, if they trade more, then we make more money. So I think our incentive is very much aligned with the best interests of the user. We don't take a fee, for example, when projects are listed, which is very commonplace in the industry and at most other exchanges, which really makes the listing of all of these projects very subjective. That's not something that we do. Another way I can show you that we have transparency and integrity is our 100% proof of collateral feature, which enables you to go and see, okay, I dropped off my funds in this account. You can go and see where it is exactly. This is not the case at a lot of other exchanges, and it's definitely not the case at a bank, right? Usually they will take your funds and loan it out to someone else. And in the case of a lot of exchanges, not only will they take your funds, they'll probably trade with it if they have their own trading desk. They'll probably front run you with your own money, which I mean is kind of crazy. So that's definitely, us being able to provide so much transparency is definitely what made me fall in love with Gate.io. And so my main objective is help the users have a great user experience, whether that be through education, through creating a better user experience, user UI, all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, try and get new users, right? And I think we've been very successful this year by partnering with a lot of different projects and doing a lot of really solid cross promotions. And I think we were particularly successful in May of this year when we added 1.4 million new users, bringing us all the way up to 6 million users on our platform.
That was all May? That was all May?
That was all of May. Mm.
Interesting. And I mean, let's discuss that a little bit more. How? You went, from what I understand, I was looking at the user numbers. In less than a year, you went from 2.5 million to 6 million. That's pretty incredible growth that I think, a lot of people will, in marketing, crypto marketing, at least, you always deal with, it's like, oh, well, you didn't do anything different. The market just changed, which is like so frustrating to hear because you put so much work in through the bear market to take, to kind of capitalize on when the market is hot. What do you attribute that success to?
So, first of all, you have to put all of that work in during the bear market to be able to capitalize on it, right, Ty? If you don't put all of that work in, then it's not going to go so well. The best time to build is during the bear market, right? Similarly, the best time to make an investment into HODL is during the bear market. Everyone always seems to want to invest when the market is hot, but the best time to buy is during the bear market. And similarly, the best time to build is during the bear market as well. So we did have, of course, all of this initial building done throughout the bear market. And it wasn't so easy, for sure, to survive the bear markets. I mean, it was okay for us, but I did see a lot of exchanges die, a lot of media, really sadly, die, and a lot of projects die as well. But we have really bounced back. And I think one of the things that we have seen is there have been a lot of new projects that have come out kind of like phoenixes out of all of the ashes of the crypto winter. We've seen a lot of new projects come alive from that. And it's been really interesting. The way that I like to put it is if we're going to rebuild Internet 3.0, and if all of the different applications that we have that require a cryptocurrency to kind of be attached to it as a financial incentive, if all of those applications need cryptocurrency, then this is really only just the beginning of cryptocurrencies, right? So there's still going to be lots of projects that are going to be launched, and they need reputable exchanges to be able to do that. And they need users from these exchanges to come and invest in those projects. And that's what we've mainly been focused on. And that's why we've really been able to grow a lot. We've been very focused on finding these projects and doing heavy cross promotion with them so as to attract their users, so as to interest our users into their project. And really, it's just a win-win-win. And I think we've been really successful at that because we've lowered the barriers to entry for these projects, because we don't have a listing fee, because everyone knows that we're objective when we're evaluating the projects, because we have a huge user base that is available to purchase their IDO or their new coin listing. And I think just generally because we do an excellent job at cross promotion.
Yeah, I want to discuss that more because my agency, obviously, we work with a lot of companies. Some are really established, either exchanges or mobile apps or something like that. Some are just kind of getting started and are just starting being listed on exchanges. And the exchange listing process, from our side, it's like an event that we usually, build a marketing plan around. But a lot of that marketing support does tend to come from the exchange that's doing the listing. So I am curious to hear for Gate.io, what does that usually look like, the cross promotion? Is it mostly social media based? Is there email blasts that go in, on a more like granular level? I'm curious to learn.
We do everything. We're really focused on, a lot of users, they're interested in learning about projects, but sometimes users can get a little distracted. Let's just put it that way. And they just kind of, invest, in a way that maybe is not so recommended. So one of the things that we are very focused on is trying to give as much face time as possible to the project with the users. And so, of course, that goes through, kind of more traditional things like a trading competition and kind of like some bounty hunting and stuff like that. But it also goes through Ask Me Anything as soon as it gets listed or even before it gets listed on Telegram, but also on our live streaming platform. So they actually get to see the project. They see the person, and they see me interviewing them. They know me. They feel reassured seeing them. And then there's a host of other things that we do as well. We also work with influencers, and we also are always open to working on some creative campaigns. And we typically will follow up with a lot of our projects 6 months or, a few months in the future, maybe when they have a special announcement. For example, we have a partnership with TrustSwap, and I just interviewed Jeff Kradakis on my show, and I think it was a really good one. And that again is kind of like a repeat. He had some announcements, and I thought it's just a really great platform with the 6 million users that we have to be able to give the opportunity to the projects to be able to, share what they want to share with the crypto world.
Yeah, I've noticed. I was reading up, or I should say, watching up on your YouTube channel with all the AMAs, and I thought that was just such a smart way of. One of the last episodes that we did on this show was brand building, and one of the topics that we discussed is how important it is in crypto to actually just get your face out there. It seems like such a trivial thing, but in crypto, you're just behind a screen most of the time. And there's so many like nefarious characters, I guess, that people that kind of get out there and show their face, I think, are at a huge advantage to build trust and get people to use your product.
The human element is extremely important. We very rarely list any project that's anonymous because it's very uncertain. Our research team that researches all of the different projects is very strong. There's definitely a host of different things that we look at, and definitely anonymity is not really recommended. But beyond just what you're saying, you can have a name and still not really be a face, right? And so coming onto a YouTube channel, coming onto our live stream really helps build that humanity of the brand. And it's something that we ourselves are looking to expand all of the time as well.
Yeah, it seems like you guys are investing pretty heavily in building your own media channels between the AMAs that you guys have. I think you guys have a number of shows on YouTube. I'm forgetting the names, but
I host a show every Friday called Crypto Flavors.
That's right.
Diksha hosts Crypto Deli, where she talks about India. And we have our community managers also starting shows for their own local markets. I think for the local markets, especially, it's really important because everything in crypto is always in English, but a lot of users are not just English speakers, right? So it's important to be able to do that. And I think one of the most important things about us, having our own media is that our media is not really biased. I mean, sure, you could argue that, we're going to say the project is great, et cetera. But when it comes to the market, I don't really have any vested interest in pushing you this or that way in the same way that I think the crypto media is doing as well as they can, but they are very dependent off sponsorship, and there are a lot of dodgy practices that are happening in the crypto media. I've seen a lot of media not declare that something's a sponsorship, that they're getting paid, whether it's in tokens or in USDT or whatnot. And that's not only unethical, but that's also in most jurisdictions illegal. So, there's still a long way to go. So I think one of the things that our users really appreciate is that we don't have any vested interest in whichever way that we tell the story. And I think that's an important point to make.
Yeah. And so the decision to kind of launch your own media channels, was that one that you made or someone else on the team?
Yes, that was one that I made. The live stream, it became clear to me as soon as the live stream functionality was launched on our platform that was definitely something that we should use. And we have seen that users really enjoy being connected to the channel, watching us, interacting with us, asking us questions, especially during the AMAs. I think they get a little bored of just my face. They like having a new face on. And typically it's great because they have the opportunity to ask all the questions that they want to ask before they make the jump into investing into the project.
So regarding marketing for an exchange, because, crypto marketing is a topic in itself, and then it gets even more divisional with marketing exchanges, marketing,
Sure.
Accounting software, marketing tokens. For exchanges specifically, how would you rank like different strategies? What would you put at kind of like the top of your priorities regarding, maybe it's like SEO or social media management or influencer marketing? How would you rank like the typical crypto marketing strategies for an exchange?
Sure. I think everything's important, of course. And I also think it depends what stage you're at in the space. When I first came on board, as an example, Gateio was not so well known when it came to, international media. So it was pretty hard for us to get mentioned in the media without paying. But the route that I chose was not to pay unless it was really a special situation, and definitely not to pay any of the smaller ones where they're not using ethical practices, like I've mentioned, because I think it's just feeding, what's first of all unethical, but also once you start paying, you can't really, backtrack and not pay anymore. So we struggled for a while, but then Diksha Sharma, my head of comms, she was able to really establish all of her relationships with journalists. And, now Gate is almost always, a lot of our press releases are up there when she sends them. A lot of we're often mentioned as one of the top exchanges and stuff like that. So that's all a lot of work. That's brand awareness, of course, right? Social media is really important because crypto is very much about community. And so social media is the platform that you most will need to use to engage with your community. For us, Telegram and Twitter are definitely the biggest, but we're also getting started with Clubhouse and a lot of other ones. It really, of course, also depends on your market. So some markets will use some things more, some social media platforms more than others. But social media, I would say, is definitely really important. Paid advertising is really hard in the crypto space because a lot of it is not possible, first of all.
Tell me about it.
And that makes things hard. But you kind of you're able to interact with other media platforms and stuff like that. My experience has not been so successful. I think that's much more of a brand awareness thing. And so, you have to decide where you want to invest your money when it comes to brand awareness, because you need brand awareness, and then you also need, of course, conversion, right? Mm-hmm. And so the way that we, are able to push conversion is usually with the listings and pushing the listings. And we're using the channels of social media to do that, PR to a certain extent. And influencers is not something we've used as much. I have worked with some influencers, but it can be a little tricky. And I think a lot of the influencers, more and more so, have taken on a lot of unethical practices as well. Mm-hmm. And that's a real problem, especially now that we're seeing bigger influencers, so who are not crypto related originally, come into the space. And, maybe they were making $2, right, for CPM because they were talking about, I don't know, shoes. And now because they're talking about finance, they're making $15 per CPM, right? So the amount of money that they're making on YouTube is a lot higher. And so you're seeing that, they're really multiplying the number of videos around that kind of activity. And, we've seen some pretty awful projects being promoted, like Trust the Kids, which is like, just exploiting charity for their own personal interest. I think it's a real problem. So with influencers, I'm very careful, and I really recommend to everyone to be extremely careful when they see an influencer promoting a project. Maybe they're going to be dumping on you. And mm-hmm. Actually, I was thinking about this when I was just walking around, and I was thinking, maybe these influencers, they should make their the tokens that they accept and the address at which they accept them public, so that we can see that they're not dumping on the users.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. Mm. And I do feel like the influencers that have been in the crypto space for a while are pretty good. I mean, we do a ton of influencer marketing, and mm-hmm. we are very selective with the influencers that we mm-hmm. work with, because there is, like you said, unethical practices that just are not good for the community in general. Mm. And we're, obviously here for the long term. We've been here for several years, and we have a vested interest in crypto being not a regulated industry, but a self-policing industry to a sense.
Sure.
I find that the influencers that are coming into crypto, like during a bull run, just to kind of, like you mentioned, make more money off of the content they're already creating, rather than the ones that are here for crypto in the long term, are worse with these unethical practices. Whereas the crypto ones are pretty on top of what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's ethical. So I will defend them in that sense a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I mean, transparency in general is always helpful, especially for people that don't realize. I mean, you can disclose things in a lot of different ways when you're an influencer, and sometimes things are not super obvious or easy to miss, which can be problematic.
Yes, but it does, I think one of the things is it does all, of course, it lies with the influencer to be as transparent as they can, but it also lies with the user to be careful with, this is not virtual, this is virtual currency, but it is your money. Mm-hmm. You should be taking responsibility for what you're doing. That's definitely something that I always say every Friday. I say to all of the viewers, be careful with what you're doing. There's a lot of scammers out there. I've been impersonated like so many times. By now it's written all of my bios.
We actually have there's now because I didn't recently, I didn't invest in social media until recently. And then as we started doing that, I started getting impersonators. And now we actually have an impersonator agency, which is like probably the first impersonator agency there is, who actually just copied our website, like word for word, just replaced every mention of Coinbound and put their name. And it's like, it's such an interesting phenomenon that you don't see really in other industries.
Yeah.
But as far as like influencer marketing from the standpoint of an exchange, you know, you touched on the ethical reasons for being careful. Have you explored it to a sense where you could say it's effective or not effective for Gate.io?
We have seen some positive results. We haven't scaled it to make it a to be able for me to be able to answer your question to the best of my ability. But yeah, I think we have seen some positive ROI. We have also seen some where I think it was more brand building, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's part of the mix.
Yeah, exactly. Especially early on, we always recommend, like we'll recommend doing influencer marketing, especially YouTube content, because it's longer form, because we can get kind of like an educational amount of content built up. So even if you don't see an immediate positive ROI on that, you at least have a place to point people that are going to check you out and need to kind of see how something works.
I think one of the things that I saw that I thought was really good was when Elio Trades partnered up with Superfarm. And I think that the way that he did it was really interesting. He was very open about the fact that he was an early investor, and he really pushed the project a lot. And I think like for Superfarm, that worked out really well. And I think it also probably worked out really well for Elio Trades as well. So I would, if you can, of course, not every project is like Superfarm, right? But I think if you can find, whether it's someone as big as him or a smaller influencer, if you can partner like that in a real way where, maybe the person is giving you real feedback and they're really going to push your project, and it's going to be very clear that they're an early investor, then I think it can be very beneficial.
No, you had touched a little bit earlier on the fact that you guys, were very heavily targeted in Asia and have expanded beyond that. Have you found the need to tweak any strategies, for Asia versus like North America, for example?
We don't do a lot of promotion in North America because we still have some users for sure. But in the US and Canada, we are closed for margin trading and a host of all of our functionalities. Because of all of the regulation. We're working on, going past the regulation and making sure we have all the licensing and stuff like that, but it's still a work in progress. We're much further along in Western Europe, for example. So I might answer that for Western Europe.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of things that are different. There's definitely a lot more convincing to do in Western Europe. The cost for acquisition is definitely higher. You definitely have to touch them more often. I think they're a little more educated, and so a kind of reward campaign might not work as well. But if we can,
when you say reward campaign, do you mean like a giveaway?
Like any of the bounty hunting,
Gotcha.
giveaway and stuff like that has been very popular in a lot of Asian countries. But I think the Western Europeans or the Europeans, they're very interested in a lot of the high quality projects. And I have met a lot of high quality projects here in Europe, and a lot of them are actually quite far along when it comes to regulation as well. So I think that kind of brings an increased amount of trust in the project and hence in the investing in the project.
Interesting. Another kind of, I guess, similar question is, you've been the CMO for 3 years, which has seen bull markets and bear markets. Yes. How have the strategies changed between the two?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I started out in the bear market, we definitely were pushing a lot of, still a lot of projects, but, we're definitely pushing a lot of different kinds of campaigns. And then when the bull market hit, it was very much about just being able to keep up with everything. There was a huge influx in the number of users. I had to hire a lot of people, and one of the biggest things is we had to hire a lot of new customer support people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And that was a big struggle, because it's pretty difficult to do customer support for a cryptocurrency exchange. The amount of security that is needed, the amount of technical knowledge that is needed is very high. You can't just recruit a person who will do customer support for like any other industry. They really have to be trained, and they have to be trained, and they have to be very patient, very patient. I have seen, it depends on the country, but there are some countries where the users are incredibly intense, and they will try and resort to semi-blackmail. I mean, it is a little nuts.
We work in a fun industry.
But it's definitely challenging, and everyone that I've hired so far has been up to the task. So I'm really grateful to have found all the great people who work with me.
Yeah, it's like a constant, I mean, this isn't even like a marketing thing. This is just like an entrepreneurship in the crypto space thing, that it's so hard to maintain the correct amount of staff, regardless of what kind of company you have, because the market, like the demand of the market changes so quickly. You're either always overstaffed or understaffed. It's such a hard balance.
We've mostly been understaffed so far, but we have really pushed things along. I think we're at where we need to be right now. And I'm just, waiting. Right now, the market is stable, I guess, sideways, I guess.
Yeah, stable is a good way to put it. It's an interesting, we're like sideways, kind of. I mean, we did just pump like 12% yesterday, or the day before. But
so it's hard to say. It could be any minute. I have my button. I have my button ready to go and recruit more, but we're stable for now. But I think what is very exciting about the crypto space is that everyone I've been able to hire so far is really passionate about crypto. And so I don't need to like motivate them so much. They do what they love to do, which is like read about crypto, engage with people about crypto. And we all talk about crypto all of the time, so, and I'm sure all of their loved ones are also very happy because they get to, I don't know if you have some friends who are not in the crypto space, but they don't want to hear about crypto, right? So it's better that we get it all out of it.
Well, now they do. Now they're like, all right, everyone's making a lot of money doing this. How do I get in? But yeah, no, for years it was like, Ty, we don't care about Bitcoin. All right, cool. You had mentioned a lot of helpful information regarding getting listed, and I think a lot of companies that listen to this podcast and are looking for marketing, resources are interested in getting listed on exchanges. Can you walk through a little bit regarding what goes into like your process for listing a new company, a new token on your exchange?
On Gate? Sure. So the first thing I will say is, like I said, we don't take a listing fee. We do ask for budget, but the budget is allocated to the marketing promotional activities. It's not, none of it goes into our pocket, just so like that's clear. So, we ask for budget, and then the budget is allocated between some of the different activities like the trading competition, the listing vote, et cetera, et cetera. But what makes a good project? We typically like to see some volume. So we want to see like maybe a few $1 million worth of volume, because, and it has to be real volume, right?
Is that daily? A couple million daily?
Yeah, daily. We can tell if it's all pumped by a whale. Or like I said, our research team is incredibly experienced. So yeah, of course, we also, like I said, we don't really usually engage in an anonymous team, but anything's possible, of course. The reason for that is we very rarely delist it's really, really rare for us to delist any project. So we need to make sure that the project is, going to really be used and really, really going to stay on with us for a long time. So yeah, we need to see some initial volume. We do also have a partnership with TrustSwap. So any of the projects that get listed on TrustSwap are kind of like sent our way and will typically be listed onto Gate. So that's also like another way. And yeah, I think just fundamentals. Obviously, we've seen a lot of interest this year in NFTs and in DeFi. And I feel like the next kind of wave might be a kind of combination of the two. We've seen a lot of the kind of gaming coins really pump this week. And I wouldn't be surprised to see more of that coming. It really seems like all of the gamers, the esports people are really becoming very familiar with cryptocurrency and are going to look to really engage in that vertical this year.
Cool. Thanks. That's super helpful. I think people are going to find that valuable. I want to wrap this up. It's been awesome chatting with you and learning about everything. Before we go, though, where can people find you online?
Sure. So come and look for us at gate.io. Very, very simple to remember. On Twitter, you can find us at gate_io. And to find me, I am starting a newsletter really soon. I'm going to be talking about altcoins and stuff like that. You can come and find me on Twitter at Marie, MARIE, TATIBOUET. I know my name's a little long, but or you can just type in like CMO at Gateio, and you should be able to find me. Follow me on Twitter, and I will be posting like my newsletter out there. I'll be posting once a week and just talking kind of what I do on my live streams, which is just talk about all of the really exciting new projects that are coming out there. I'm super psyched for August 5th with, the ETH upgrade. I think there's a lot of great things that are going to come out of the upgrade. It's going to be a struggle with all of the miners, that's for sure. But, without struggle, we can't like go past and move forward. So I welcome it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting couple of months, regardless of what happens with price.
Absolutely.
Just with there's so much going on. All right. Well, thank you for your time. It's been really cool chatting with you, and see ya.
Thanks so much, Ty, and a big thanks to all of the Coinbound audience.